In today's episode, I'm telling you a sad case of what can happen when mental health is left untreated or ignored. Welcome to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, the Florida Man Friday edition. I'm AI Jane, standing in for host Kai while she's on a short mental health break. She will be back to narrate Monday's episode. If you're new here, please listen to this episode first, and if you like my retelling, subscribe so that you don't miss any of our true crime stories. Also, go back and listen to past episodes as we have a vast collection of cases to review. Here's a side note before we begin. In this episode, different voices are used for dramatization. These are not the actual voices of anyone involved in this case. In the meantime, let's get into this Florida Man Friday. On March 26, 2024, in a quiet neighborhood in Plantation, Florida, police responded to a 911 call. When they arrived at the home, they found 38-year-old Sara Ashley Gama and her 2-year-old son, Ethan, dead. Sarah's father, the person who called 911, was the individual who discovered this horrible scene. Earlier that day, 40-year-old Carlos Aponte was supposed to drop off both of the couple's kids at Sarah's parents' house. When they never arrived, Sarah's dad called, but no one responded. After some time with no word, the Gama family decided to go to the house and check on Sarah for themselves. Upon arriving, her father was met with the heart-wrenching cries of the couple's 4-month-old baby and the family's dog barking incessantly. I, quote, could tell by the baby's cry that something was wrong. So, he entered the home and what he found inside was shocking. Sarah was found on the kitchen floor, covered in blood, with multiple stab wounds, and not breathing. John was unconscious on the bedroom floor with a faint pulse, and it wasn't until police arrived that they found Ethan face down in the family pool. He also suffered from stab wounds. The infant was unharmed. John was, quote, laying in the supine position and had labored breathing. Police noticed that Sarah had stab wounds and slashes on her neck area, and Ethan had stab wounds to his neck area as well. John was rushed to the hospital, where he was stabilized. Afterwards, police inspected the house and found some interesting information. First, they found bloody footprints in the hallway. Then, there were several pools and smears of blood around the master bedroom, and they found a blood-soaked rug. Finally, they also found 2 regular kitchen knives, blooded and on a counter. When police interviewed Sarah's father, he said that he was, quote, unaware of any marital issues and, quote, knew them to have a happy marriage. He also said that John was a great husband and loving father. He'd never seen him show violence or aggression. However, he did tell them that John suffered from Ptsd due to his time in the Marine Corps when he was deployed to Iraq. Quote, he stated that he believed that John managed his issues well, most of the time, but knew him to have a few anger outbursts, although they were never violent in nature. He knew that John recently saw a doctor at the VA's office for medication but was unsure exactly what for. He knew that John recently complained about trouble sleeping and was taking Ambien and melatonin to help him sleep. So, investigators went to speak with John's family. His sister and mother informed them that he did suffer from depression and had had a traumatic brain injury, or a TBI, from a fight years ago. This injury left him in constant pain. Investigators did find that John searched for help in dealing with his mental health. He'd even gone as far as to file a claim with his Veteran Affairs Office in an effort of getting an official diagnosis. He'd also reached out to a Veterans Foundation to get help with his PTSD and the TBI. When investigators visited the hospital where John was currently being treated for his injuries, hospital staff informed them that it appeared that John had tried to overdose, but he'd had no other injuries other than a minor cut on the top of his hand. As the investigation continued, a clearer picture of the couple's troubled relationship began to emerge. Police were able to get Sarah's phone and, the information found on there, showcased everything gone wrong in the relationship. According to an unredacted arrest warrant, marital strife and an extramarital affair were at the heart of the tragedy. Sarah had recently discovered that John had been unfaithful, and their communication reflected the growing tension between them. Text messages retrieved from Sarah's phone detailed arguments over custody and finances, with Sarah expressing her deep hurt and betrayal. Here's an example of some of the texts that were found. Sarah, quote,
So, let me ask you, when you went to Colombia for your dad's funeral, what happened there? Because there are tons of escorts there.
Jean, quote,
I understand I broke your trust.
You broke a lot of things. It's quite serious. You also broke our marriage vows.
I'm not a good person.
And you're realizing this just now?
In Sarah's search history, she searched for, quote, just found out my husband cheated on me years ago and, quote, how does alimony work in Florida? She'd also visited a divorce lawyer website. In the final piece of the puzzle, police were able to review the security cameras in the couple's home. In it, it showed video, on the morning of the killings, of the couple arguing. While listening, police could hear a woman's voice saying, quote,
Because, with your meetings and everything, you cannot have full custody. So, I hope those videos and everything that you got, and all that stuff from the Super Bowl in Germany where she was skinny and all that you wanted. I hope she was worth it. Don't come after my money. Don't come after anything. And we should have signed a prenup. We should have signed one.
In continuing to watch, a bit later, cameras captured a male voice yelling and a child's screams. Autopsy reports came back on the state of Sarah's and Ethan's bodies. The 2-year-old had 4 stab wounds to his neck and defensive injuries to his hand. His cause of death was listed as sharp force injury and drowning. Sarah was stabbed 28 times and had wounds to her neck area, face, and her abdomen. She also had fractures and defensive wounds. Her cause of death was listed as done by sharp force injury. On March 27, John was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He appeared in court the next day where a judge ordered him to undergo a mental health screening. Army veteran and Purple Heart honoree, Chris Haley, said that John had reached out to Catch a Lift Fund for their help. Catch a Lift Fund is a group that services former service members with mental health support through exercise. Quote,
It's a bummer because that is the whole reason why our organization exists. It's to kind of stop this. So when it does happen, it's pretty shocking because that's kinda what we're trying to avoid. He had a very strong desire to make things right because he had a wife and a kid on the way. That was one of the things I remember very clearly is he wanted to do things right and be a positive example for his family. He was struggling. I couldn't tell if it was severe, but it's a struggle and I think he wanted to get better. I don't think he wanted to be miserable, and I think he realized you got to do something for yourself sometimes.
The president and founder of Catch a Lift Fund, Lynn Kaufland, said in a statement, quote, Our heartfelt condolences to all affected by this tragedy. Since 2010, we have supported over 12,000 individuals nationwide through our physical health, nutrition, wellness, and community support programs. We will remain resolute in our mission to provide the means and motivation for these veterans to embrace whole fitness to assist in their individual wellness journey. John is currently still in custody and the case is still ongoing. What led a once loving father and husband to commit such an unimaginable act? While the investigation is ongoing, the case highlights the devastating impact of untreated mental health issues, particularly among veterans. Meanwhile, the surviving infant, who was left unharmed in the incident, faces an uncertain future, having lost both parents in a single, horrific night. This tragic case serves as a reminder of the importance of mental health support and the need to address issues before they escalate. If you or someone you know is struggling, please seek help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-7233, and for mental health crises, you can reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. And that's all I have for you for today's Florida Man Friday. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Kai will see you in a new full episode on Monday. Don't forget to share this episode with everyone you know and everyone you don't. Please share it with 2 of your friends and on one of Reddit's true crime subreddits, everyone you know and everyone you don't.